They say it's hard to break a cocaine habit once it's been started. I'm saying the lighting. No, I don't have a drug habit. That was that was in fact a joke. I was talking about my light. I just came up with that. They said it's hard to break a cocaine habit once it's been started. Basically, I was just saying because of the light. One of the main reasons of why I don't use a light when I record is because the light is too bright. It is. See my shades that I always have on? Because everything appears so bright. So that's one of the main reasons of why I don't use light. And yet maybe from here on out I will. Because to appear smudgy in your videos is a no-go. But yeah, I hate using light. And I actually hate natural light. That's why I made that video about me being a night owl. But anyways, see how bright it is? I don't like that, but it is what it is. Anyway, so what I was saying about weed. What do you think and feel about weed? What do you think and feel about the legalization in relation to the laws being passed in the area of weed? What you think about that? Should you think the smoking of weed should be taken away out, as in out of the hands of others or out of your own hands? I want you to tell me. Marijuana, Mary Jane. There's various names for this chemical substance which has been known to be grown by man in its very natural state, and yet not all the time. I've actually known people that used not to go off topic, but I've actually known people who have actually they would use embalming fluid in their weed. Yes, it would. The only thing I could think about somebody using a chemical substance like that to smoke up is to fry your brain. It is. It's to make your brain stiff. And yet I think the embalming fluid in which they use is not the same thing in which they use on dead bodies. Who knows? You got some people that will go that far, that crazy, and will go that far. They have a mind of expansion. I don't know. So for me, I'm not a drug user or even a drug abuser, as in stepping away from the spotlight where things get too hot. See, every time I look up, so I don't like light like that. Because every time I look up, it's like you look up and then you can't see when you come back down. That's why I said it's a cocaine habit right there. This light, because I don't like that. But moving on. So, weed. You know, I think weed is, especially medical weed, is a benefit for those who have health conditions and say you're trying to use that in order to soothe and cure your medical reasons of whatever is going on in your life. Like, weed could be a benefit for that, because remember, to have any type of conditions is to have pain in relation to that. It is. That's the God and honest truth. If you have any type of, like, some people have lupus, you got some people that have various types of cancers. Not saying one individual is suffering from those type of things, but you got all type of populations of people which are dealing with all type of conditions in which they can't really get a hold onto, and yet even in that is some tremendous pain. Because I remember I had a cousin who's much older than me. He's somewhere like in his, I want to say early 40s, going to be soon mid 40s. And when we were growing up as kids, he had sickle cell anemia. And it's when your cells shift and they do their own thing, right, throughout your body. And they would like twist and stuff like that. And as they were twisting or like lodging in between his blood vessels or whatnot, you could hear him screaming. He would literally be screaming and crying just because of that, the pain in that. So I think, you know, weed could be a benefit in soothing people like that. It can, because that type of suffering is long drawn out. That's beyond the point. You shouldn't have to suffer in that manner. And some of these medications can't help in that area with the pain. A lot of times when you take these medicines, sometimes you have a bigger problem and headache just taking those to soothe your pain and your agony of having chronic illness or even cancer than to smoke something that's more natural and herbal straight from the earth that hasn't been, flavored with other outside chemicals. If it's natural, I'm all for it. So the question stands once again, am I for weed or am I against it? I can't really say I'm either or, basically. I can't say I'm with it and I can't say I'm against it, because I say that because I think even if you're a recreational smoker, you still have to get a handle on life in the area of facing reality. See, you have many people that smoke weed and they smoke it for reasons of escapism. And yet many of them same people, they don't smoke, they don't take time to smoke reality. So that in itself can cause a problem, not for just yourself, but others around you. If you don't handle your everyday life affairs and you get too carried away with smoking weed, then other people have to step up to the plate to take care of your life for you. And I think that could be an actual downfall of weed itself. See, weed is not the problem, because weed is just a natural substance as it is. And yet the individual that can't handle life in various areas, they are in fact the problem. See, the substance is its own thing, but the actual human that smokes it, it's responsibility in that. So that's what I look at. If you're a responsible individual, then yes, go ahead and smoke it this is speaking outside of medical, more recreational smoking. If you smoke it for recreational purposes, be a responsible individual. Don't get out here in your car and get the flying up and down the block, smashing and crashing into people, ending their lives in the process because you don't know how to handle your own smoke, your own chokely smoke. An area where I say if I was to be against it. Once again, not against the actual weed itself, but against the individual who smokes it, who don't know how to handle that very thing that they're smoking. Because see, you got some people that they're irresponsible from the get-go, even before they put weed into their hands. They're irresponsible individual from the beginning, and so once they put weed in their hands, it's like they just go out here and make all type of irrational decisions that put other people in harm's way. Those type of people shouldn't be smoking. They shouldn't be allowed to smoke. And like, who's for me to say what is in fact right and wrong? And yet to kill other people because you don't know what you're doing is in fact a problem. It is. Coming from the environment where I came from, I've seen people high on various drugs and not just weed, and many of them people should have never once touched a drug ever in their life because they harmed other people, and some have actually killed other people getting behind the driver's seat of a car. Yes, they have. That sort of things happens every day, and especially among young people who are smoking, and doing various drugs for the first time. I myself had an incident where I made a video on my other camera, and the video ended up being so long, it was 4 gigs long. And it was actually 4 gigs, and yes, so that would have been forever for me to upload. So I had to scrap that. That's too much. So I'm gonna tell this story right here. I had a friend who I've actually, we were almost on the way of being best friends. It did not happen because for my very first time of trying weed, she chose to allow her boyfriend to put PCP in my weed. Yes, PCP. A very no-go. That could have actually led to an explosion in the area of me getting in a car crash and killing everybody around me at high speed. You got to be responsible with anything. Even with life itself, you have to be a responsible responsible individual. You can't just say, I'm going to take it upon myself, go smoke this weed, enjoy myself, have a good time, and then not consider those that are around me, other people around me. Because see, people make the world go around you, and you're not the only thing. You're not the only center of attention in this world. So you have to consider the lives outside of you, and not just you yourself. The focus should be on other people and smoking weed just as much as the focus is on you. Because I say this because even in the area of that incident of me trying weed for the first time, I wasn't aware of my surroundings, as in paying attention and who I was involved with. Smoking weed, I was smoking weed with people I considered and thought to be my friends, and yet they weren't. None of them people were in fact my friends, and they knew it from the very beginning, because for a girl that I considered to be almost best friends for her to allow her boyfriend to slip something heavy such as PCP in my weed or drug for the very first time, is to know that there's a problem in the area of even friendship there. You got to be aware of your surroundings and smoking weed, and yet many people don't. They go out here and they go to these parties, get involved with other people that's using all type of various drugs and not just weed itself, and yet weed is to play in that, because to smoke weed is to know that other drugs come along with it and not just that one substance. See, to get used to smoking a weed product is to know that product in itself is not enough to get you up, which is why other people are prone to mix various other substances with that one thing, weed. To over smoke a lot of weed is to not get high as you feel as you should go, as in the uplift, to bring you up. So a lot of times what people will do, they will lace their weed with cocaine, crack, and even heroin. Can heroin be mixed in weed? I don't know that for sure, because see, with these street drugs, people got all type of ways. Let me tell you, if bath salts was actually made to be edible, bath salts, people were actually eating and chewing that and biting off people's face, then you know heroin can then heroin itself probably can be in fact dropped in a load of weed. I'm thinking, because people got all type of creative ways to come up with these various substances and use and doing stuff. So to drop draws is to expose balls, is all I'm saying, if that makes sense. Anyways, moving on. I just lost my train of thought, because when I just said that pertained to something else, and yet I'm going to leave that on the tape because it's a reason behind even that. So, people are getting involved with different people, and when they get involved with these different people, a lot of times they don't even know the various substances that these other people are using, is all I'm saying. And that can be a problem. See, to smoke a thing like weed is to smoke it in its most various natural state. That's the point in the high. That's what hippies used to do. They would smoke stuff in the most natural state, because it's like the seed of the earth, the root of the earth, right? It's an upbringing, an uprising. It's getting you elevated, but not with something potent enough to kill you. That's what I'm trying to say, is you do stuff with responsibility, self-responsibility. You take it upon yourself to be responsible in all this. And you do stuff that's more natural, instead of going outside, getting involved with people that's using weed and lacing it with all type of stuff that is going to bring you down in life. You do, if you want to smoke weed. I myself, I view it as a positive, and yet I'm not a pot smoker. I don't really do that type of thing, because pot in itself, weed, marijuana, that type of stuff is a little bit too what's the word for it? I won't say I have a weak mind in that area of not being able to contain myself, but some people are able to handle the high effect better than others. See, I myself am not. When I tried weed for the first time, that situation was a no-go because it had something in it. And yet, I think because weed gives you that detached type of feeling of being so far away, I don't like that. Because if I'm too far away, I can't control my situation. And not only that, if I'm too far away, me being a woman, and though not ladylike, I can't control if a man will try to get on top of me and take advantage of me. That sort of thing happens here and there often, more than is probably stated. How some women have gotten taken advantage of because they was in a process of smoking some weed, some good marijuana, and yet some man took it upon himself to actually rape her, or guys, him or her. So I like to be in control of things. I don't like to let a substance control me. You got what I'm saying? In environments of where somebody could take advantage of me. That's probably, see, because like I said before, I like the hippie mentality. I like the freedom behind the whole weed and even the legalization of weed. I like that it has a hippie anthem to it. It does, because it means freedom. And it doesn't mean to be contained to something by a law or somebody constantly telling you what to do. It's giving freedom to be yourself, right? But you never know who you're going to come in contact with while you're smoking that very thing. And yet if you're not in control of yourself, that's the easiest way to get taken advantage of. Yes, it is. It happens all the time with people. And even more so people that are cracked out on them in various substances. You're easily to be taken advantage of and misled because remember, you're in a highly vulnerable state. That's one of the reasons why I don't use drugs. And yet I do in fact condone weed. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I don't want to stop people who put maybe crack and cocaine in their stuff. I don't want to take it upon myself and stop their enjoyment. And yet I just think that you put yourself in the most lowest vulnerable state to mix it with other outside products. If you're going to smoke it clean. Smoke it clean. I ain't saying anything against shrooms either. I never tried that. See, any of these other outside drugs, LSD, ecstasy, and all the other stuff, I never tried that type of stuff. I'm sure for the hippies, it's a benefit of them. Allow them to do that. Allow them to be their self. But when it comes to, weed and mixing it with embalming fluid or what is other stuff, it'd be really harsh chemicalized products that this stuff is being mixed with. I don't like stuff like that. I don't. I really don't. See, I can condone something like even a shrooms or mushrooms, whatever they're called. I can condone that because it comes out of the earth. That's a natural, free-flowing device. Although it's not mechanical. To try a mushroom, eat a mushroom, smoke a mushroom with some weed or something like that, that's straight out the earth. Anything that comes out the earth, I can condone. Because it's given by God. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't given by God, then it wouldn't be there. It wouldn't. For something like weed to come out of the earth, and yet when you smoke it, it doesn't kill you on the spot. And it's to know and understand that that's given by God for some type of reason. It must have been for a health reason. Because remember, you're given plants. Some are edible and some are edible and some are in fact toxic, right? If I take it upon myself and I go out here and I eat some grass, I'm saying out in the front yard, and I don't die from eating that grass, then that must in fact itself, yes, grass in which a lawn service can cut. If I don't die from eating that grass, which is a naturally growing substance from the ground, if I eat that grass out my front yard and I don't die, then that must have in fact been a gift from God, even for human consumption and even for animal consumption. Because don't even cows and stuff like that grass or graze on grass? I think I'm getting it right or wrong. I don't know. Some animals graze on grass. They do. I can't remember. I think is it cows? One of them types graze on grass. And yet, for an animal to sit grazing on grass, which could be in fact a cow, I think I got it wrong. Forgive me if I get it wrong. But say an animal like a cow grazes on grass. Is that why they call meat grass fed? Well, I'm gonna Google that. I don't know why that. See, a lot of times when I talk, I don't write none of this stuff down. I just go with whatever comes to my mind. I go with whatever pops up in my mind. So, which means none of this is prescripted. So, if a cow is eating grass, all that has to go with being grass fed beef, right? In which us humans consume. So not only are we consuming the grass in which that cow has eaten, we are in fact as well consuming the cow itself. What is with free range? Free range just popped into my head too. Whatever that is. But so grass itself we can actually eat that as humans. If the grass is not being treated by, say, a lawn service, as I said before, if the grass is not being treated by a lawn service, then that as well is available for human consumption. If something ever happened where a natural disaster strikes, and I bet even regular everyday humans have never thought about this. If a natural disaster was to strike and you were forced to take it upon yourself to move somewhere else, and the only available option that you have there in the area of eating and surviving, the only available option that you have is grass to eat, you can in fact consume that if it has not been treated by a lawn service. Yes, you can. Because remember, for those who are meat consumers are in fact eating grass every day. If I got that right or if I got that wrong. I'm trying to think if I got that wrong. If cows eat grass and they graze on grass and you eat that cow, which is the meat, then you are in fact eating grass. So consider such. So it's the same with weed. Weed grows out of the ground just like grass grows out of the ground, which I can say I'm all right with that type of thing. Mushrooms, the same thing. People get high off of mushrooms or have a crazy experience with it. That grows out of ground. Is the mushrooms, what they call shrooms, is that the same type of mushroom that we eat? I'm gonna have to Google that as well, because a lot of this stuff is highly questionable. There's various names for many of these things. And some stuff I in fact know and have heard of. I'm saying in my past videos. But I leave it up to the viewer to decide in the area of remaining questionable. There can be information that I know, and yet I don't put it completely in this video because I want you to tell me. That's the thing. Notice how I question things all the time. It's in order to make the viewer yourself question as well. To ponder, to think. So when I ask a question and sometimes I don't answer it, it's to leave it up for you to actually decide. To take it upon yourself to be a truth seeker and a seeker of knowledge. To go outside of what you're used to, your comfort zone, your level of thinking, and ponder these sort of things. Because see, human society don't ponder and think enough. We don't. We given information just as it is, and yet we don't take it upon ourselves to go outside to look more deeper into these sort of things. So going back to what I was saying, um the natural substances. See, I can't get with an embalming fluid. I can't get with that. I actually had a cousin who tried to have me when I was in my early 20s. He tried to have me smoke weed with him, and I wasn't on that. First of all, his eyes was too bloodshot red. It was like standing there staring at death itself. It was, because his bloodshot was too red. He would barely move. Now he's a complete workaholic, which is completely 365. Yes, it is 180. He did a complete total turnaround in that area. But he would be stiff as a chandelier. He wouldn't really do too much of anything, too much of activity. I'm saying weed in itself, when it's mixed with other things, can in fact stunt your growth. It can. It'll make you stop everything that you're doing and not realize and reach your full potential. It will, and it has for many people. The weed outside of the natural weed, the weed which has been laced with other things, will literally help to stop and stunt your growth. Which is why some people you don't see no more. Because instead of them coming to step out on stage constantly, they're too busy behind the scenes smoking up weed, packing up weed along with everything else that goes into it. And I won't say who. I'll leave that alone for you to decide. It's somebody famous right now that I won't speak on. And yet one of the main reasons of why you don't see this individual as much as you should on TV and all this other stuff is because they're busy smoking away, puffing away on some weed that's been laced with other things, a high chemical type of drone, and that's why you don't see them. They don't have the motivation enough to get on stage as much as they should. That's what happens. That's one of the main reasons of why I made this video, to answer back on something. This individual is completely drugged out, and yet the public doesn't even know. That's what happens. But that's a sad way to live life, because see, anytime you're a highly glamorized pop star, the world should see you much more than they actually do, and yet they won't, because to remain drugged out is to just sit still in life and not move any further beyond that. I'm gonna leave that as that is. I'm gonna let that just sit, because I had to say what I had to say. But moving on, let's use them for motivation and inspiration in relation to this video. See, when you know that there's a problem with somebody, as in what is going on behind the scenes, you don't sit fronting that person. You don't. As in what you know and what is actually going on with that situation. You don't get out here in mass media or going contacting people, fronting them out. You just leave that situation as is. Sometimes look deeper into it, and say, man, that's messed up, but you gotta leave it as it is and bypass it and just take inspiration from it. Because some of the, even rock stars, when they get drugged out, things just happen. It's sometimes you fall in life, and that's all is to be said. You just gotta go on and move on, brush it to the side. So going back to what I was said, weed itself can, depending on, like I said, the situation, because see, I'm trying not to come out too much and say much more about this person, but see, even weed itself, if it's not handled right, and I'm repeating again, it can make it do some of the most unwise decisions that can mess up your life and mess up your whole career. And it has for certain individuals. And yet they won't never say. That's off the hook. You know? You can literally, completely destroy your whole career in the area of smoking weed and yet not smoking it in the right way. Sometimes even negative influence comes from that. The people you choose to surround yourself with. See, you can, I said this before, and I'm going on because it's a reason why I'm saying this. This person might watch this video later, who knows? Because see, I sometimes I take this and I share it on social media like Facebook and Twitter. But you can absolutely surround yourself around the wrong environment and the wrong people and thinking you're going to make a bigger come up in life. And yet that can in fact be your downfall, as in it serves you the complete opposite. Get what I'm saying? Surrounding yourself with certain individuals that say like to rap a lot and they talk about cash and money and women and driving these expensive cars. Surrounding yourself with that type of environment, and weed is involved, and say other drug substances involved, can be the very death of a particular celebrity or individual in which I spoke on. It could be that in the end, who never knows? Like, because I see stuff sometimes before it happens, who never knows? But as I think about this situation, that might in fact end up being that individual's demise, like the ending to them. Like a natural disaster just waiting to happen. And it's weird because I was somewhere and I was like, speaking to somebody, and I was thinking to myself, you know what? This person being involved with that other person, that is a completely disaster waiting to happen. I was saying that to this individual, right? And they was like, oh my gosh, I was thinking the same thing. So basically they came out and repeated to me the very thing that they was thinking before I thought it. Like, that whole everything, relationship, everything with that is going to be a natural disaster in the end. I think I'm seeing that coming. That's going to be the very end of that person. Because see, to involve yourself with certain people that you think is a good lookout for you, sometimes is a complete wrong and a no-go. A no-go to the floor, a fall, which has happened to them before. And so the individual that they are involved with is somebody that smokes and drink. And I'm not one, once again, I'm not one. Everything should be done in moderation. When you get to doing any of these substances, it should be in moderation. It shouldn't be overconsumption in any of it, because to get carried away is not to handle your business. It is. Even in the area of Hollywood, that's why we got all type of overdoses and stuff like that. You start using a chemical substance and you're using it in a way that you're not completely motivated enough to do what needs to be done. And then you get carried away doing irrational things that don't add up to other people, as in the public, them trying to figure out what is your mindset, because your mindset, because you're doing stuff that doesn't appear right and so sporadic. It's too much, man. It's too much. But for the everyday individual, don't be a follower. Be a leader in your life. Don't follow behind certain people because you feel like you need a man just to survive. Because see, that man or even that woman can be the very death of you if you don't use your own mind, your own brain. Even in the area of trying drugs and getting on drugs, and stuff like that. Like that stuff is just it's so not cool. Like it just it's so not cool. You gotta think wisely. You know, who's to say? A person might want to go down to Nashville, say like myself, for example. I might want to go down to Nashville for a vacation on the weekend and just be chilling with some country singers and may want to smoke some weed. If I do that, it has to be in its natural state. I can't be doing stuff outside of its natural state. That's all I'm saying. I can't do anything outside of its natural state because that poses even issues for myself. It does. If you go too far, if you go too far out of what is your natural state, natural rhythm, natural substance, even if it is smoking weed, even if it is every day. Some people smoke weed every single day. I'm not judging even that. But if you go too far in the area of extreme activity with it, you know, there's endurance even with that. And the issue where sooner or later something is going to be broken down. It's either your mind, your obligations will completely be broken down. Something will have to endure as in bear the impact is all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Something will have to endure that impact of you overdoing something. Yes, it will. Because to get even be consumed in the area of over dramatization, in the area of smoking weed can be, yes, it could be your downfall. So be responsible. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. You can't tell me otherwise. See, I've seen people where they've allowed weed to be their very downfall. I've seen that. Just enough, I picked up just enough. See, a subtle eye can see straight into situations, and yet people don't even know that it's happening to them. They don't even know it's happening to them. I'm saying to get carried away by something is to not knowing it's happening to you, and yet sometimes outsiders can see that and they know and they understand and they sympathize with the fact that is in fact going on. You see what I'm saying? You got to come back to reality sometimes. You can't just sit around smoking weed all day. You can't just sit around smoking weed all day wishing certain things will go away, such as life itself. You got to face it. You got to face it. And even if that is an issue, you must go to recovery. Seriously. If over smoking weed becomes an issue, you got to go to recovery. You got to figure out that situation, because if not, that in itself will eat you alive. Everything in life is about some type of moderation, having some type of balance, and not going to extremes, because to go to extremes with certain things is to never recover. It's to never come back. It's to just completely give up and not do better. I think some people have actually given up in the area of not wanting to do better and not wanting better. So I'm not bashing those that use or who smoke or do whatever. And yet, to do any of these things is to in fact do it right, to do it right. I'm with the legalization, because we're in America, land of the freedom of the freedom. Why will we be in a land known which is called America, right? Why will we be here and not be allowed to bear arms or smoke weed or even go out in a garden and plant weed, wherever, and take it upon yourself and have your own weed house or whatever you like to do? To live in a free land like this is to be able to be given freedom and joy. Land of the free, right? Bearing arms. I'm gonna make a video about that. The right to bear arms, such as gun control, allowing others to have guns, and then some people, their guns being taken away in various states, or their gun laws, gun rights being taken away from them. I'll make a video about that, because it's a lot more to be said. They have rights, but even with that, even having a gun, you got to make sure you're responsible with something even like that, because to not put a gun away properly is to kill your own child. That type of thing goes on. A gun laying around the house freely, a child will freely take it upon him or herself to pick it up and get to playing with it, and then blow themselves away by accident because they view the gun as being a toy. You got to be careful with situations like that. You do. There can be a lot of loss and harm committed in the area of childhood if you don't handle your gun properly. You got parents, a lot of times they introduce their children to guns because they want to make sure that their children properly understand and know how to use a gun. Say if somebody was to break into their house, if there was an emergency, say you're out in the wild somewhere or anything, to be able to protect yourself. That's the point of the right to bear arms, is a protective, stance behind that. But still, some of these children are losing their lives a little bit too young in the area of carrying a concealed weapon and having firearms in the house, such as a shotgun. You got to be very, very, I like that type of stuff with people having guns and owning guns. I like that type of stuff because I'm not saying it's natural instinct. I'm not saying that it's natural instinct to kill another human being. That's not what I'm saying. People twist stuff when they say, what you mean you like guns? Not that. That's caveman activity. It's like being back in the wild. You know that someday, sometime, in some time frame, you're going to have to take it upon yourself to protect yourself from any individual, such as a home intruder. That sort of thing happens as well. There was a police officer that was in his house. Some random man took it upon himself to literally walk in that four walls of that police officer's home and got shot, killed to death. Because he was an intruder. That's that type of thing you don't do. You don't go walk in somebody's premises freely and just roam through their house. That will make anybody want to blow you away, because first of all, they don't know where you're coming from. You yourself could be in fact on drugs. The intruder, I'm saying, walking in somebody's house. See, some of these home intruders that be going in and invading people's private space, some of them don't have the right mindset from the beginning, because to have a right mindset is to know you just don't walk in private property any time of the day. Shows you something's wrong right there. That's criminal mindset, right? And so to get rid of a criminal a lot of times is to blow him away. I'm saying to get him before you get him. See, a criminal, a lot of times when he intrudes in your personal space, as in your house, say for example, you go one night and it's 9 o'clock in the evening, you go make a pot of macaroni and cheese, and you're stirring in the pot the macaroni and cheese, and it's all done, and you're about to plop it on a plate, and you turn around in your living room and you see a grown man as big as you, if not bigger, standing at the front door coming in your house. That's a natural human fear instinct to just kill him on the spot, because a lot of times these home intruders, they not just coming in just to get what they're coming to get. Some of them are actually coming into your house as well to kill you in the process. Because remember, if they don't have a ski mask on their face, they know that you will see their face enough to call the cops, which might not give them enough time to run away, because remember, they're in your house. So they got to run away in the process. And who's not to say that there's an officer up down the block somewhere? It could be another officer somewhere, not yourself being an officer. It could be an officer that lives 4 blocks away that you call on the phone to come get this intruder. as he's running out your house, and yet you seen his face. So he know that he might have to kill you before he leave out that door. That's what I'm trying to say. People have to be careful when they're breaking in people's houses, because that's a complete no-go. You don't just take it upon yourself to just say, I'm going to walk in such and such house that I never met. I don't even know. Many of them people that intrude in other people's houses as in walking private property up on the premises, they not going there to evacuate the premises. Many of them don't even know the address of the house they're actually intruding upon. That's a problem in itself. See, I must have some type of issue. I have to have some type of issue in the area of legality. That's almost mental illness in itself. Why would I take it upon myself to go in and do somewhat of an armed robbery in a house? I don't know the address because it's dark outside. So why would I take the time to see what address I'm going into? To walk into a house which I don't know what stands on the other side of that door. And the lights are on enough to know that somebody is in fact home because there's a car parked in the driveway. People do this type of stuff. And they don't wear a mask. They let their face completely be shown. And yet the only thing they take with them, I'm saying the robber, to do robbery, they take a gun, a loaded gun. So a lot of times you know that when they come intruding into your house like that, nothing on their face, no gloves on, just a gun. And sometimes they're bringing, it's a man and could be a woman. They ain't bringing no children, of course. They ain't gonna have them a part of that. Because a lot of times, people ain't gonna have their own children involved in robbery like that. They're bringing herself along with some other individual as a partner to do an armed robbery in somebody else's home or living room, a kitchen. You know, for them to even bring a gun like that is to know that you are going to be killed. You are, because if they're not going to kill you in the process or while they're robbing you in the first place, they wouldn't even need to bring a gun into your home of a person they don't even know. So yes, I'm completely with and not against when it comes to the gun law and gun control. I'm completely with this whole legalization of keeping guns and the right to bear arms and the freedoms to, because I myself was almost a victim to that. In the house where we lived, in the environment where we live, there was a grown man, two of them, and come to find out it was a group of them. I myself could have got killed or got raped or something bad could have came out of that situation. To be home, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Your mom is all the way in South Africa. You chilling in the house, and there's nothing but you and a big German Shepherd. I could have sicked him on them and had him eat them alive, but who's to say if they had a gun or not? They could have killed my dog. That's what I'm trying to say. Good thing we had a 9mm that was registered with the state. Still have it today. I sat on that couch with that 9mm on my lap for protection. And as I was peeking out the door was one by my front door, talking about a man. A black guy was in front of the front door. And that's an issue in itself, because remember, to be brown like me is to say you're one of me, and yet you tried to break in on me knowing that we lived in an all-black neighborhood. That's a problem in itself. That's why them types I don't like. They know I don't like them. I don't like them. Can't stand them. So I looked out my door. It's this black dude that is standing in front of my door at the front door, and it's another one across the way standing under the street light. Like how I'm up under this light, he literally took it upon himself to put himself under that street light so that way I can see him when I looked out. Because see, not only was one car outside, this shows you the mind of people. That has to be some form of mental illness. This shows you the mind of people. As I said before, my mom was in Africa, right? She was in Africa. But I was at home. It was 1:30 in the morning. You got a group of people that's trying to break in, possibly trying to rob me. Who knows, right? There wasn't just one car outside. There was, in fact, 3 cars in the driveway. How do you try and go break in somebody's house and yet there's 3 cars? I had a Ford Escort What year was that? That was summer of 2011. Summer of 2011. I think that was June. I think that was June. No, that was July. Like July 2nd, 2011. I had a Ford Escort, mind you. This is 2011. I had a Ford Escort that was parked in the driveway more towards the back of the house. That Ford Escort I had since 2001. It broke down on me. The gasket blew out, and yet I never got rid of it. We kept it in order to make it look like somebody was always home. That's why we kept it. Like a flower pot, Mom liked to say. So I kept that car sitting there in the driveway. But not only that, my Honda, silver, bright as day, still got it. Silver was sitting outside in the driveway right in front of Mom's bright red Nissan. She had a Nissan that was lipstick red. You can see that car bright way down loud down the block, and yet no music was playing. It could sit there and you could see that car from 2 blocks down. That's how bright it was, right? And so maybe that's what attracted him. I don't know. But supposedly these people that was trying to come in and rob or do whatever to me, whatever their intentions was or rape me, they was in fact some type of gang member group that lived right down the street from me. They lived like 6, 7 houses down. The homeowner, whoever the guy was, he wasn't the homeowner, his mom was. He lived there, and yet his group of friends didn't. They was from a whole different area neighborhood, and yet would take it upon themselves to break in houses with him. So he lived 6, 7 houses down, and yet across the street from us. So he lived 6, 7 houses down across the street, like down on the left or whatnot. So they would just sit and watch people come in and out of different people's houses and try to track the time of when they was going to break in during the day and at night. But that night, 1:30 in the morning, early in the morning, it's pitch black outside, right? Nothing there but that street light and a few houses lit up. Mom's Nissan is hanging out of the driveway. Loud enough to know, you know what? Somebody is completely at home. Did she have a Nissan? No, matter of fact, that wasn't a Nissan. That was in fact her Volkswagen Jetta. That's what it was. It was the Volkswagen, because she had a Nissan that was just bright red as that one afterwards. She gave that Jetta to my brother. But it was a Volkswagen Jetta. And if you see these type of Jettas, they really, really bright. Lipstick red completely. So it was hanging out. And you know they big and bulky. They big enough to see. And so as it's sitting there, I'm thinking to myself with that 9mm in my hand, how could these fools not know the attraction of the fact that there are cars right here in this driveway, let you know that there's somebody actually occupying this house. It's occupants in this house is all I'm saying. So you foolish enough to know that there is occupants in this house, and yet you still want to come in here? You still want to come in here knowing there's occupants in this house. You can't be serious. You cannot be serious. You will get completely blown away. And that's what I did. I pointed the gun out the door. My granny was so mad when she found out the next day. I told her I pointed the gun out the door. I needed them to see, and I wanted them to see. Not only that, the lady next door kept having people. She was an older white lady. Old as she was, she should have not been having constant black guys breaking into her house like that as much as they did, stealing stuff. One afternoon, my neighbor was in her 60s. No, she was in her late 60s going into 70s. One afternoon, me and Mom had just got home, and the police was all pulled up next door to us, looking at this lady's house to see how the kids had broke in. These weren't kids. These was, in fact, grown men. But as she had pulled up right before all this happened, right before the police and all them pulled up, soon as she pulled into her driveway, these people who had broke into her house ran right past her as she was getting out of the car. In her driveway. Who does that? They took it upon them time to break into this woman's house. Saw that she came and pulled up in the driveway, coming home, about to come in the house. They literally ran past to escape the crime scene, ran right past her, and continue running down the street. Who does that? That's some hood nigga activity I ain't never liked. I can't stand niggas. And I hope whoever see this who is a nigga will know and understand I don't like your kind. Because me, myself, being brown, I can never be a nigga. That is not mine. I might wear baseball caps and be cute completely up underneath this hat, but I don't like that type of activity because it poses too much drama and people get killed in that type of activity. I had to let the police officer know when they came to my house to scope out to see what was going on after the niggas broke my mama's windows. These niggas broke my mama's windows, and yet they didn't break in. They broke them to see. They broke the windows to see if the windows had a tamper system on it, like an alarm system connected to the windows. That's why they broke them. So we had to come out of pocket to fix those very windows they broke. And yet they went on about their business. You know how much those windows cost? There's like $200 something a piece. And yet none of them footed the bill. I can't stand niggas. I'm sorry. The more I go with this video, you will understand why. So, I mean, just videos, period. You'll understand why I can't stand niggas. I don't like them. They're not my kind. They're rats. They're not my kind. Leave them where they at. That's why I left. That's why I moved out of the hood. Anyway, so, when a police officer showed up in order to scope our house out to see what had in fact happened and what was the problem and, you know, what could be the solution to end this type of activity, there's really no solution outside of block watching, yet that's not enough to get rid of a nigga. To kill a nigga is to kill one off. So anyway, so I had to tell the police officer, even in that, to kill a nigga off is to kill one. I told this officer, yes, he was a white officer. I told him to his face, I said, you know what? The next nigga who tries to break in my house, officer, I am going to blow his brains out right there on the spot. Because first of all, to try me to break in my house in the middle of the night, and yet I'm the only one in the house except for my dog, is to know a rape and a murder could stand in that. My own. Because see, they didn't wear no face mask. Which means, once again, you got to understand about crime. Anytime somebody don't wear a face mask, and yet they're coming in your house to come get you for whatever reason, it's for you to know that they want you to see their face. They want you to see their face. And yet not enough to turn into the police, because see, to turn them into the police for the crime that they have committed against you in your own house is enough to put them behind bars where there's no freedom coming. Unless, say, it's a few years out from now. And so, once again, you can die in that just by seeing a criminal's face in your own house. So I had to let that police officer know, you know what, officer? I am the most chill back individual I can be. Sometimes sullen in my ways like the, everyday human being that I am. But dear officer, if a nigga break in here and I'm in here by myself like I was tonight, I am blowing his brains out. All of them. I will just blow them away back to back. And yes, I can shoot in range in the area of target practice. All of them will be blown away. I'm sorry. I have to say this. And some people will be offended. Why would you talk like that? Because it's the truth. That's my demeanor. I love other human beings, but I don't love home intruders. Because there's viciousness in that. You have to look and use common sense. There is viciousness in the area of not my reaction to it. See, I will have to take it upon myself to react to something like that. You don't allow a home intruder to come into your house and not put up a fight with them. Because, see, they might just go ahead and kill you. That's the thing. I don't like stuff like that. That type of stuff scares me. And it would just be my natural reaction to just kill everything right then. You got what I'm saying? It's the honest to God truth. So I had to be very vocal with that officer. When when he came, it was two of them that came. He not brown like me. He was a white guy. And yet he was basically an officer he was in the premises. You got to understand that the area where I came from, the hoods of hoods, the deep hoods where all the Crips and Bloods was taking over. It was infested with that activity to the point of these officers was getting tired of doing their job. They're constantly being called on the phone that there's another break-in. My neighbor got killed in her door. We all knew her. She got killed in her door. A crackhead took it upon himself to knock on her door to try to get money and stabbed her to death and beat her husband half to death. And he died in the house. Yes, he did. They were in that house for almost a whole week before the police found them. And on top of that, Their son was in fact a police officer. So yes, the police officers don't like that type of activity. It's too much work for them to clean up. So when I told him, I said, you know what, officer? Once again, I can be the most nicest person that I can be, but I'm also vocal enough to say I can respect the fact that you're a white police officer trying to do your job, but I can't not respect these hood niggas coming in my environment trying to take over. See, anytime somebody try to break in your house and you're in it, they're telling you they're coming there to take over. They're coming to take over your space, your living environment full of peace and harmony. They're coming to bring disaster in your environment. That's all they're coming to do. That's what home intruders do. And yet many people get beat in the process. Yes, they do. Turn on the news. Turn on the news. When I found out that my neighbor was beat in the way that you could ever be beaten, an old man, and killed, that man died in the end. His wife died first, but he got killed and died. They had to put him in a rehabilitation center, which he never came back from. That crackhead beat him in a way that he can never recover from. He can never come back from, is all I'm saying. And so a home intruder has no respect for you. His sole intent is to come and take over you. That's it. To take over your premises, which is your home, your very peaceful house home, however it's laid out, whether it's immaculate from the top to the bottom, or to just come take over a basic household full of everyday people who are trying to live right and do right by society's standards. The home intruder cares nothing about that. His sole intention is to get what he's going to get from you and move on, is all I'm saying. And so that officer, when I told that officer, both of them, I said, you know what, officer? I will blow them all away. Dear God and dear universe, I couldn't ask forgiveness in that. I'm a whole completely individual today, and yet for an intruder to step anywhere on this premises, I'll say it again, I will blow him away. Because I don't know his intention. He might rape me to the fact I might not ever be able to get over that mentally. See, it's women and children right now being raped by home intruders that it completely damages their mindset. They ain't never a whole being after that. So when I told the officer that, you know what the officer said to me? He said, ma'am, to be honest with you, you do what you have to do. I will never forget those words. I will never, ever forget those words. Because in the state that I'm in, the actual state, see, I wasn't even thinking about the gun laws itself. I was too busy thinking about my own protection in my own life. And how was this situation going to turn out? Because it put such fear in me, I didn't know what to do. I couldn't call anybody and say, can you race and run over here, to get me out of this situation? Because see, those guys could have had a gun on them and killed whoever was trying to come rescue and save me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have no help right then. So, when I was talking to the officer, me being in a state that I am, you're allowed to shoot an intruder in your home. You're even allowed to, in the state that I'm in right here, you're even allowed to shoot an intruder on your front porch and drag him in the house if he's in certain feet of your house, being the intruder he is. See, there's a certain feet that somebody has to be in order for you to go to court and claim the fact that he was in fact an intruder. Yes, you can, by state law. And so that's what that officer said to me. He sympathized with me because he could see the look in my eye, the terror in my eye. I was completely traumatized by that situation in itself because I felt like I was pinned up in my own house. That's like a dog being in a cage. That's like a homeowner throwing a dog, just throwing it in a cage and then locking the cage and, tapping on the cage saying, you can't get out. And you're just staring it down. That's how I felt. And so that police officer knew. He knew how I felt. The look in my eye was a complete fear. And at that time, I was already having full-blown panic attacks anyway. So that just drove it up even more. And so he told me, he just was like, you know what? Ma'am, this sort of thing happen again, do what you gotta do. Do what you got to do. If you got to blow them away. And that made me feel so calm, because when I later was processing it, when, you know, you don't start really thinking and putting stuff together until the police actually show up. Like, you know what? I got this gun out and I could actually go to jail, even though it's registered with the law. But the way that I was holding it, you know, talking to him, it just, you know, he could have been fearful of me for the simple fact you got black crime going on and these officers killing blacks because of the gun being pulled out. You know what I'm saying? I was talking to him while I had it. And so he just basically, he didn't even say anything about that. He just was like, do what you got to do. If that's what you feel needs to be done at that moment, blowing somebody away who are coming in here you don't know, you got to do what you got to do. He said, do what you got to do and let the officers come back and clean it up. That's what he told me. He told me that. Do what you got to do and let the officers come back and clean it up. See, I'm the type of person I would hate to blow somebody away in that process, because that's not me. It's not me to take it upon myself to kill somebody. And I said that in the area of the death penalty when I said I would never harm a soul, right? I'm the type of person I will never harm a soul. But if I think that your intentions are ill in the area of coming on private property to take advantage of me, and a rape, see, a home intrusion can go any type of way. That's the thing. That's a loss of control. It can go any type of way. That situation can get completely out of hand to the point you don't even know what's going on. A home intrusion can get to the point where you can be intruded upon by somebody that you don't know. You don't know his name, and yet you see his face. He can literally be an individual that intrudes upon your house, your living space, beat you half to death, and then ship you off to one of these sex slaves in a whole different country. People don't think about stuff like that. Home intrusion. You got some people that's in sex slavery right now because their home was intruded upon, and just because that person saw their face, that burglar or whoever, the person committing a crime, the victim saw their face, and so to get rid of them, instead of just killing them because it was too much work, they shipped them off to some sex slave over in the Middle East somewhere crazy. That type of stuff does go on. And so with the officer, he just was like, yeah, you know, because he was tired of seeing the same activity. Every time he getting a call every single day, somebody's breaking in somebody's house. For me, that's completely unsettling. That puts a person out their environment. Once, you know what, once something like that happens, see, people speak all type of ways that you shouldn't have a gun, this, you shouldn't have a gun, that. They speak all the type of ways until that sort of thing happens to them. When there's a break-in in their home or a home intruder, they turn around, they go to the bathroom and get ready to go back to the bedroom, and they look up and it's a home intruder standing in their hallway by their bedroom. They're totally against the gun law. I mean, they're totally against the right to bear arms until that situation. Listen to me when I say that. The very people who are speaking and saying that they're against guns and owning a gun in their home, those same people are the type of people who will one day stand up and notice it's an intruder in their house. When they turn and look around, they're getting ready to go make breakfast one day, and an intruder is standing right in the center of the bedroom after they went to go use the toilet. That type of stuff, it happens. And then what? You're pinned up in your house with some man you don't even know. That man might not even be there to rob. He might just be there to rape you and go on about his business. That sort of thing happens. Yes, it does. So I am with gun control to the point of, I'm saying outside of the laws, I'm in the area of gun control as in being responsible and owning that gun and carrying that gun and making sure you have the license for that gun and being responsible in your house with that gun, right? This is completely outside the law when I speak, because in all this, once again, just like the weed, is self-responsibility. It is. It's all responsibility. To know how to take care of something, like my dad used to say, to know how to take care of something is to allow that very thing to take care of you. A gun will take care of you just as much as you take care of it by not allowing it to get in other people's hands, such as children's hands in your house. See, an incident happened like that with a family member, not within my home, but just period with a family member close by. This individual, they took it upon themselves to get involved in a situation where they was a follower of somebody who was in fact their cousin that they didn't even know. That type of stuff happen. You can become close with a relative and you think you really know that person because you're around them every day and you're doing the same activities, and come to find out this person is doing much more illegal activity than you even thought of. And then one day you wake up and you actually going to jail with them. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing happened. And not only that, I had another cousin where that first cousin that I speak of, the two little boys that I'm speaking of, they're not really little, but one is about 12 years old, 12, 13 years old. I spoke about this before in another video. And the other one is almost, what is he, 16? Gonna be 17? He's going in, but still, the individual that they were involved with, they didn't know completely that this person was committing all these crimes, and especially with a gun and robbing people. They didn't know and understand that type of activity to get carried away and involved with that person enough to get caught up. That's why I said that there was an older adult in that house. That's what I'm trying to say. It was an older adult in that house that owned that gun. These kids did not own that gun. So the kids took it upon themselves to gain access to that gun where the parent was not looking. And now they done caught themselves up in something, and now they're going to jail for it. That's what actually happened. To do illegal activities along with people that you don't know, and be in the wrong household where people don't control their gun by putting it away, hidden where children can't get it, is to end up in jail. That sort of thing happened. And in another area, I got another cousin. All these cousins is young. And see, the most coolest thing, even in films, see, a lot of this stuff don't even be just the kids' fault. Some of this be with some of the films, even though they're not completely responsible for kids' activity. But see, even in music videos and films and stuff, the gun is the most coolest thing you can have. Think Dillinger, stuff like that. Dillinger, a gun is the most coolest thing in pop culture that you can have. So when kids see one, they want to play with it when it's sitting there in the atmosphere and not locked away, closed up in the cabinet somewhere. So I got another cousin that my other cousin is only 14. These is all young. The other ones was 14. This one is only about 14, right? 14, going on 15. He accidentally killed which would be my other cousin. He accidentally killed our other cousin by accident with a gun. Playing around with a gun. That's what I'm saying. These accidents happen because, see, to have a home provider in the area of a gun provider is to know when to take it away, as in walk away, as in put it away and lock it up so it can't be found ever. And even if it could be found, I'm saying that box, even like this popcorn box can be found by children, it still can't be obtained, the gun. It can't be get into because it's in a lockbox. Unloaded. These two kids, 14 and the other one 11 or however old, playing with the gun, having fun with the gun, and then boom. 10, 11-year-old gets shot and killed playing with the gun because it was a cool thing to do. And now he can't even get his life back. And yet my other cousin is going to have to go serve time. I think they're giving him 11 or 12 years for just that. Serving time for a gun you shouldn't have had in the first place. And yet that wasn't even, see, you can't even, when it's something like that where a kid kills another kid, you can't even really, especially if that's not crime activity as in some Crip and blood activity. Remember, these kids were first cousins, relatives. So it was no fighting involved, is what I'm saying. It's playful activity that be going on with these guns, so these kids can't really be at fault completely. You have to blame the homeowner. If I'm a homeowner and I got a gun in my house, that's to know that it should never be seen. It shouldn't even be seen by visitors at all. You got what I'm saying? That gun shouldn't even be seen by visitors. The first cousin that killed the other cousin by accident was in fact a visitor within that home. That's what I'm trying to say. And so once again, the access was gained to the gun, which a life is lost in. The homeowner has to be responsible for that. Yes, they do. Because your house, it should not only be comfortable to you. You being a homeowner, your house should not only be comfortable and safe for just you, but safe and comfortable for others that are coming to make a visitation within those four walls. Nobody should have to go in the four walls of your house and feel unsettled, despite it being your home. I'm saying, you really don't have no control over another person's feelings once they open the front door of your house and come in. As a visitor, as you allow them in, you invite them over and allow them in. You're not responsible how they feel once they get in, but at the same time, they still should be safe in that environment. Even your own children should be safe in that environment, as in playmates, whoever comes over and entertains, who's entertaining one another. See, for my cousin to go into that house and be a visitor is to be entertained by the other child that was within that house, which was being overlooked by the homeowner, but not completely, right? And so the house should have been safe enough. A house, period, can never be completely safe for children or even for teens, and yet you try to make it safe enough. Because even children make irrational mistakes, and even children carry irrational behaviors. That's why that sort of thing, such as a gun, is to be put away. Because, you just don't never know. A teenager could take it upon himself to not want to be here anymore. And then he goes somewhere in a corner and blow his brains out. That's why a gun has to be put away. You don't leave a gun just hanging out loose for everybody to see and gain access to. A kid could take it upon himself to see a gun laying there in the house as well and go shoot up a school system or go shoot up a school. All because he got mad and angry about something what somebody did to him, and yet he wasn't in his right state of mind enough to think and process properly the anger and the turmoil he feels within. He just go shoot up a school, or go shoot up a bank, or go shoot up any type of business establishment. A teenager can be crazy enough to not be thinking, get mad and get to fussing with somebody one day and just walk up in Walmart and shoot everybody in the toy section. Got to think about those type of things. Got to think about those type of things, To have a gun available is to be given opportunity for that gun to end up in anybody's hands and end up shooting up any type of environment at any time of day. It is. Because it's spontaneity in even that. For me to be a child or even a grown man, see, being a homeowner, once again, is to know how to control your own household. Because, see, you can leave a gun on top of the refrigerator. Some people leave their guns on top of the refrigerator. I think that's bad for the gun health, actually, because, see, you got to remember, to leave a gun on top of a refrigerator is to help that gun rust out. Yes, moisture helps stuff rust quicker. And not only that, that will pose an issue of the gun locking up. See, we had that issue even in the area back at our house, because my mom would leave our gun in this safe. And the safe was in the area of, it was in a closet that was an extension to the house, right? It was inside of the house, but somewhere that closet wasn't completely like thermal. What is the word I want to say for it? You know how you put thermal material in the walls and it keeps a house cold? I mean, it keeps a house warm in the wintertime. I can't even think of the name of it. But in that enclosed space, the closet also actually had outside, because there was a window in the closet and you can see outside the house, right? Thermalized, basically. That closet wasn't thermalized right or winterized right. So it would get very, very cold and kind of damp in that closet area. And even in a safe. So to have a gun locked away in a safe like that, where there's, cold weather, air that has access to the gun, just it being in a safe and it being cold like that, is to build up condensation. And that condensation is moisture tapping in deep inside of the gun enough to make it rust enough that certain pieces within the gun would lock up. Yes, it would, because we had an issue where the gun had actually, you loaded it in its proper way with the magazine and all that other stuff, and then it would lock up. And so my mom had to take it to a gun shop to get even that fixed. So you don't set a gun in that type of place. You get what I'm saying? But to leave a gun on top of a refrigerator is unsafe in itself. People do this, especially country people. And I'm not bashing anybody, but that's not safe. You don't leave your gun on the coffee table. You don't leave your gun on the refrigerator. You don't leave it on the kitchen counter. And you really don't leave it in the bathroom where visitors can come in and see that gun. Because even a visitor will come in your house, take your gun, whether it's licensed or not. They'll take the gun and walk out. And then one day you'll be looking around like, I know I had my gun somewhere in here, and yet you never find it. That sort of thing, it does happen. You got crooks that come in that are everyday visitors in your house, and yet you don't know they're taking from you while they're visiting. So a crook will come in, see the gun in the bathroom, on a bathroom counter, come back in your living room, sit down, hold the rest of the conversation, you not knowing that the gun is in their pocket somewhere, or in a bag, or wherever, purse, wherever, and then they walk out. Then they go do some robbery or crazy activity with your gun that's registered under your name. Gotta be careful of stuff like that. You gotta be aware. You don't leave a gun even on the kitchen counter when there's visitors coming around, because there's all type of people that commit robberies and stuff that they probably wouldn't even think that they would commit, getting involved with the wrong crowd. And then they say, okay, let's go rob such and such. And then they got your gun registered under your name. And then when whatever comes back, whenever, because to shoot a gun, is to shed some bullet shells or something, gunpowder or something, that stuff is registered under you. So after the cops clean up everything, that type of stuff will be pinned on you if there's no fingerprints in that. Yeah, see, that type of stuff, that's another reason why I left the hood. I can't be bothered. I would rather have a gun in the suburbs where I know I ain't got to be bothered with all the activity of a hood nigga even breaking in and stealing my peace and get me in trouble in the process because I wouldn't know where to be found in the crime, and yet he used my 9mm or something crazy like that, or mom's 9mm. Like, yeah, that type of stuff I don't really, yeah. So be responsible of your household is all I'm saying. Be responsible of your drug usage. Be responsible of your crack habit, whoever. Be responsible of your cocaine habit, whatever. Be responsible of your heroin, whatever. I'm not saying I'm with and against, but I am for the weed. I must say that. I'm pronounced for the weed. Yes, I am. I get down with that. I dig it. Love and shouts out to the hippies, and also be responsible for your gun. That's all to be said. Yeah. I do want to make another video about the gun control thing. More in depth though. Because that sort of thing, you study more in depth to understand why the laws are presented as they are in the first place. See, many of these laws are not just to say we want to take away your rights and your freedoms. Many of these laws have something to do with certain populations of people not handling stuff in the right way. And they take advantage of the system is what I'm saying. They take advantage of the system of going out here doing illegal activities with these guns. And yet people that are working everyday normal people who are good citizens, that are not into that activity, they're a lot of times the ones that have to suffer because the other corrupt people who are taking advantage of a system of owning and possessing a gun. See, people mess it up for other good people is all I'm saying. All this, the government, people might feel is corrupt, and these other establishments, people feel like they're corrupt. Even the banking system, people feel like they're corrupt. The reason why certain things and policies are changed the way that they are to make some of these people seem like crooks or as if they're corrupt is because people are not living. They're not living where they actually consider others. Because see, to commit a crime is to know that other people innocent are involved, and yet those innocent people are nowhere around that environment as that crime is going on. The innocent people are in fact other homeowners that actually possess and own guns. And yet they never met that criminal, and they don't know the criminal's name because they can be in a whole different state. That criminal and that homeowner might not never meet, and yet they both possess guns, and yet they're in different states, and yet they both have different mindsets. You got the criminal mindset, and then you got the innocent bystander who is just a person that just live and want to have freedom, and they don't commit crimes. You can be an innocent bystander without being hurt and harmed and killed. Innocent bystander is just an individual who works their everyday job. They pay their bills, they pay their taxes, they own a gun, they put their gun away, they use their gun responsibly, and yet they not out here killing and shooting people. And yet the criminal is a total opposite. They don't have that mindset. They want to take advantage and use up everything that is in front of them. And that type of person ruins everything for everybody else who is doing good. This system is off the hook. Yes, it is. You can completely wipe somebody off the face of this earth just by doing something that you're not supposed to. I'm saying, when I say that, I don't mean in a form of murder. I'm not saying that about wiping somebody off the face of this earth. I'm saying to wipe somebody off the face of this earth is to be a criminal, not considering that other people want to possess a gun just like you do, and yet they're not out here for ill intent. So you wipe out their freedoms as them being individuals. You wipe out their freedoms just because you want to take it upon yourself and commit harm upon other people with a gun in your hand. You wiping out other people's freedoms who are doing supposedly kind of what you would consider right by society, the average everyday working human being. They're doing right because they're trying to observe the laws and live by the laws. And so to wipe them off the face of the earth is to take away their freedoms as if they don't exist, to tell them that they can't bear arms. The criminal is doing this type of activity more so than the law. See, the law comes into effect once the criminal does too much of this activity and not acting right and doing stupidness and pettiness. It messes it up for everybody. He just completely, after he does something crazy and he takes it upon himself to go commit some grand robbery at a bank or something crazy like that, he totally wipes everybody off the face of the earth who are homeowners and gun owners, because his crazy sporadic illegal activity is now about to change the laws and tell you that you are a nobody, that you should not own a gun. Criminals is doing this. I know, and I don't even watch the news. Yes, they is. You gotta be responsible. To not be responsible is just to mess it up for everybody. That's what everything. That's why the system is so messed up. It ain't just because of the establishment and because the establishment is corrupting itself. It's because these people is getting out here messing up stuff that now other everyday people have to pay for. People that are not criminals have to pay for this sort of thing, and it's so sad. It is. It's sad. But yeah, be responsible. That's all I got to say. What you feel?